Hello and good evening, everyone. So, just a semi-update. Been pretty bad with recordings. Just tired. Work's been busy. Real world issues have been distracting. So, I apologize for not making videos for anyone who's dedicated to watching. But yeah, so obviously recently, well, not obviously to everyone, but recently a new game came out called Atomic Hearts by a Russian developer, and I've been playing it via the Game Pass. Yeah, it's definitely an interesting game. It's set in a fantasy world. Well, obviously it's a game. It's all set in fantasy world, in a version of the world where the USSR after World War II prospered extremely well, with robots and a thing called Collective, which from what I'm guessing is kind of like a communication hive mind kind of thing. Like, it's supposed to make everyone equal. And yes, so with it being the USSR, it's communism and all that. Everyone's one, everyone's equal, everyone's a comrade. So if you don't like things like that, definitely do not recommend this game. I'm also going to state before I get too much further into this, I'm still playing it. I'm gonna assume I'm not super far in. Let's see, I just met this red slime creature thing, and now I'm going to stop Pistrov at some theater. So again, I'm not too far in. I didn't beat the game, so everything I'm going to say now, it's just initial feelings and things like that, so take it as you may. It's not a full review, obviously, but like I said, I'm kind of enjoying it. The story it kind of feels not necessarily all over the place, but enough that it's a little weird. And I think another issue is that a lot of the in-game story dialogue between the main character and his artificial intelligence buddy, who is a glove, it seems to take place during puzzle periods or puzzle moments. So, and they go on for a long time. So you beat the puzzle and they're still talking. Sometimes I stop and just try to listen and understand. It just feels like I'm sitting there forever, even though it's like a minute or two. The open world aspect feels a little too open, if that makes sense. I'm not saying like I'm glad they didn't do the Ubisoft where you go 15 feet and there's 8,000 different things to do, but it could have been dealt maybe a little smaller, or I don't know, maybe the main character himself be a little faster. And that's one other thing that I have a personal issue with. I don't know if any other gamers have, or anyone else has had this issue, is the main character, he moves fast when you're walking forward, but whenever you start to turn, strafe, or walk backwards, it doesn't feel like he's moving at all. First major boss fight with the sphere boss, the armadillo creature thing. I felt like it was a little more difficult than what it should have been because of the turning aspect and all that. And I don't know, it's just trying to turn or move backwards and stuff like that. It feels extremely sluggish. I'm gonna try to up the sensitivity on my controller, see if that helps, but again, I don't know if that's just the version I've got, where because I know sometimes there's bugs, and that could be a bug that I have encountered. So storage management, it's not too bad. Reminiscent of like old Resident Evils, where you have a limited amount of space and you can upgrade it. A little annoying with sometimes with, even because I'm playing on easy, sometimes it does feel like some of the enemies are a little bit bullet sponges. And again, I know I'm not the greatest shot. If you've seen my other gameplay, I don't have the best aim, but some of the enemies can take like 3-4 shotgun rounds to the chest point blank, and they don't go down. And that's not just the boss. That's not the bosses, obviously. I'm talking about some of the easier enemies, which is weird in my opinion. Melee attacks weird. They don't seem to do as much damage as they usually would normally feel. And the power, or the electro pistol that you get that's powered by the glove, it's one early on, definitely one of the more powerful weapons, and then you can get a regular pistol. That one seems to be more powerful than shotgun, which I find hilarious. And I haven't even upgraded that much. Personal gripe for me, some of the dialogue definitely does not seem to match timing and all that, so that could have been a translation issue from Russian to English and stuff like that. And I know that happens, but again, that's a personal issue. It was like, had female neuroscientist walking away, and then her, I guess then at that moment, ex-boyfriend touched her on their arm, like saying, hey, no, everything's gonna be okay. She's upset. She throws her arms up and starts walking away, and 5 seconds after that, she says, no, do not touch me. Very, very delayed and very not set, quote unquote, suitable for this situation. Like, would have imagined the voice actress being a little more angry. And the voice acting as well is a little off. It seems very robotic, which is kind of ironic given the setting and the enemy types, which are all robots or polymer. I fought a couple polymer, which is the goo. And then even the main like a lot of the voice actors themselves, and again, this is just a personal gripe, a lot of the voice actors themselves do not sound Russian. Like the main character you play as P3, I forget what his actual name is. And I'll get to that right after this. He just sounds American. Like, he doesn't even have that stereotypical Russian accent. Not saying, well, you have to have a Russian accent when you skip every other word to sound Russian, but, it's something. And I was going to say earlier, but I get confused with names and who's who, because a lot of the names do sound familiar or pretty close to each other. And again, that's personal gripe. Doesn't take away from the game. But it's like, oh wait, who's this? Who's this? So, again, all personal gripes. Not saying it makes the game terrible. It's just things I notice. And so with that, like I said so far, the story to this point is a little confusing. I was just kind of expecting it to be a little closer to BioWare or Bioshock. Not BioWare, that's the company. Bioshock, because it feels very Bioshock-ish. And it was even, when I saw a review on it or early release information on it, it was the Russian version of Bioshock. So maybe I was setting my expectations a little closer to Bioshock and stuff like that. But the story is definitely like, well, who's going to be in control of what? We need to keep the information out of the hands of the West. Basically, the developer of the Collective and the robots says there's been a malfunction with the robots and we need to figure it out. Comrade Major, P3, your character, has to stop what's going on. That's all after the accident or the initial malfunction. Because the start of it is like a celebration of when the Collective is about to come out, and you have to go somewhere to meet the doctor who created it. First 5 minutes of the game, it's walking. There's no combat, and it's like just showing off the fantasy world of futuristic USSR. And then you meet the ballerina twins, which was the biggest, one of the biggest selling points of the game, or two if you want to look at it that way. Didn't realize how freaking tall they were. Get into a car, an old USSR car, I don't even know what model it is, but you get into that, you get picked up by a flying droid, and you are shown that where you were for the prequel was a floating island, like BioShock Infinite with Columbia. And I was like, oh, cool, so we're going to go to another island, and it sets you down on the mainland, and whatever. But then that's when the malfunction happens, and most of the civilian robots start attacking and killing people. We find out later that the person who started it is a traitor to the Communist Party, and he's the one who said it, and we're trying to figure out why. And the doctor who called him a traitor seems to be hiding a lot more, so it's one of those okay, who's really the bad guy, who's not, because your main character was saved by the doctor at some point in his life during the war, or after the war, so character feels like an obligation to help the doctor to make sure nothing goes wrong. And within this game, he's failed twice. He's failed to get the traitor. Well, fails to get the traitor twice because we think he gets killed early on, and now we find out he's alive. And now I'm going to go see if I can't capture him again. Or maybe I'm going to have to shoot him in the head. Don't know. And then there's another Communist Party leader. God, I forget his name, but typical politician kind of guy, where your character gets blacked out after meeting him and goes on this weird, trippy experience of Mushroom Kingdom style thing, but there's nukes going off and all that. Not nukes, but it's like a drug experience, I guess, is the best way to describe it. And when a character wakes up, the politician guy is dead, and the doctor is there, and he says, "What happened?" "Oh, the robots must have gone to him." And I think your character's been manipulated, because if the doctor saved his life and worked on his head, because he says he doesn't remember anything, I think the doctors did something like push a trigger and there's some keyword he has to say, and he goes all ballistic. So that's my theory. I'm sure I'll find out later. But yeah, so I mean, like I said, it's definitely an interesting game. I'm gonna go through it. I don't think I'm gonna do gameplay footage as I initially wanted to, simply because, again, with the control issue I'm personally experiencing, I'm not sure how well it is, and didn't add any commentary like I, again, intending to, but forgot to do, or I was just tired. I forget which one, but I started hitting record and I didn't record any voiceovers. And it's also kind of hard to do at this point, because now I'm realizing with all the talking that the glove and the main character does, it's like, okay, I would have to stop talking so I would hear what's going on. Hoping I will enjoy the game more. Maybe adjusting the camera settings will fix my personal issues. And yeah, there's a season pass. I don't think I'm going to be worrying about all that, because I'm not sure if I'm going to purchase this game or not, but we shall see. So thank you for listening to this longer than intended rant of Atomic Heart. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope you guys don't have the same... Well, I hope you guys are enjoying the game if you were playing it. If not, give it a try on the Xbox. Get on the Game Pass if you have it. Or just watch it on YouTube, whatever. But yeah, so thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you guys later. See ya.